What is the raw, unfiltered reality of the humanitarian situation on the ground right now in Gaza? Well, Gaza Humanitarian Foundation's Chapin joins us. Now, I have so many questions. I'm thankful to get some first-hand clarity. Let me just start with a broad question. What is the reality of the humanitarian situation in Gaza right now?
Well, the reality is that this is one of, if not the most complex humanitarian crises of our lifetime, and it's happening inside a war zone. But I work for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, just one independent, neutral humanitarian aid organization, and our mission is exclusively to feed the people of Gaza in a way that Hamas or anyone else cannot steal or divert the aid. We have delivered just today just over 123 million meals at our sites. Put them directly into the hands of the people of Gaza. There are other NGOs, including the United Nations, that are operating currently in Gaza. We are glad the GHF is in favor of more aid. We believe more aid into Gaza is the solution to many of the problems that we're probably going to talk about today. So we're glad that airdrops have started, though concerned about the safety of those for the people of Gaza. We're glad that the United Nations resumed moving their trucks further into Gaza, but you could see sort of the chaos at their trucks this week on social media. So we're concerned about that safety. So we've had no casualties on our sites, despite what you read about. Our sites are safe and secure, and we've delivered 123 million meals.
Okay, so let me just ask a bunch of questions rapid fire, and you take it however you want. You know, there's reports, not even reports, there's video everywhere of just tons of food rotting in the Gaza heat. There's reports of mass starvation, famine. There's reports of Palestinian civilians being shot indiscriminately outside your aid centers. Can you clarify any of that for us?
Sure. Well, there's a lot to unpack in there, but let me just start with we have had no casualties on our sites. Our security personnel works alongside humanitarian aid professionals who have been doing this for decades, many of them from USAID, for example. Some of them come right out of the UN. And we have local Palestinian workers as well who sort of run the sites, and they're the first instance of dealing with the crowds, many of whom are their friends, neighbors, relatives in many cases. They actually live on site now because of the threat from Hamas. They have bounties on their heads. So these are all brave men and women risking their lives to feed people in Gaza.
Well, let me
So
ask you a follow up with that real fast. Why does Hamas have a bounty on your workers?
Hamas does not like us very much. We were actually a part of the ceasefire negotiations. One of Hamas's demands was that GHF stop feeding people. It's because we have had zero diversion. So the legacy system that the reason we are operating in Gaza, the only reason we are there is that the old system was a failure. There was, in the United Nations. Just last month, they have statistics up on their website right now. Just last month, only 6.5% of their aid got to where it's supposed to go. It was, I think, around 1,100 trucks that they moved into Gaza, and 93.5% of them were diverted since they began
Wow.
operating. Since they began operating around the same time we did in May, after Israel opened Gaza for humanitarian aid, their rate is 88, 89% getting diverted, and you can see that happening on social media with armed men riding the trucks through Gaza City. We have had zero diversion. We have a unique model where we use secured convoys to leave the aid, drop the aid into the sites. The local workers use forklifts and put the pallets of meal boxes into the site. And then our humanitarians roll in with security personnel, and we do distributions at set times. And then we clear the sites, and everyone goes home except for, of course, the local workers who are staying there. And so Hamas has not been able to steal our aid en masse like they have been in the past. I mean, we believe they have made $1 billion just during this war alone on the aid. So Israel lost faith in that system. And so we are approved, as well as the United Nations and other organizations, to deliver aid in the way we are doing. And we believe we've been successful to the tune of 123 million meals as of today. I did want to address your question about casualties. So like I started at the beginning of this interview, this is happening in an active war zone, and the IDF is conducting operations. And so we are responsible for the safety and security of our sites, and they are safe and secure. Our security personnel have never shot at anyone, not once. The American military is not trained. These are veterans, highly trained, highly intelligent folks who just want to feed people, and they are there not because they know how to pull a trigger. They're there because they know how not to.
Hmm.
So they've never used lethal force. And I would just like to point out there were two instances of casualties on our sites. One was a terrorist attack in which a Hamas-style grenade was thrown over the berm and injured two American workers who are okay. And then the second was a very tragic and unfortunate event where Hamas fomented a stampede. So the crowds can be dangerous. That's part of the safety and security problem is huge unruly crowds. And Hamas fomented a stampede in which unfortunately 19 people were trampled and died. But I would like to point out two stories from that day. The last time one of our men fired into the air for crowd control was that day so that he fired into the air so that he could run into the stampede and save a child's life, which he did. That day, we identified Hamas operatives in the crowd. One of them pulled a pistol, an Iranian pistol, on one of our security personnel who did not raise his weapon. He ran at the man,
Hmm.
tackled him, and took the gun away with lethal force. So that's how our security personnel are trained. And yeah.
Well, you're an American, but and I know you represent the GHF, and in no way do you represent Israel, the IDF. But the question I think a lot of people are asking, um, if you look at any newspaper, any publication, it looks like Israel. No matter how you read it, people will say that Israel is intentionally starving the population of Gaza. Again, I know you don't represent Israel, the IDF, but how would you respond to that accusation?
Oh, so that's not our experience at GHF. We are putting food into the hands of the people, approved by the government of Israel, and we are independent and neutral. We do not take money from Israel. We adhere to the four humanitarian principles, which include independence and impartiality and neutrality. But we work with the IDF to deconflict. They're responsible for the safety and security of Gaza. They're conducting a war right now. And so we push them every day to deconflict. We push them every day to push for fewer casualties. I would make a note about the casualties. It's very hard to verify any of them. We do know Hamas is continuing to do violence and trying to get IDF responses or even injuring their own people. And the IDF does investigate when there are casualties, and we push them every day to make it safer and more secure for all aid seekers. We would like to do more, right? There's some criticism of our organization for not doing enough, not putting enough food into people's hands. And we agree. We were originally envisioned to have 8 sites. We have 4 right now. We push the IDF and the government of Israel every day to allow us to expand. There's talk now out of the Trump administration of expanding our sites. We are eager to hear direction from the Trump administration on what that will look like. We also would love to work with the United Nations and other NGOs that are currently operating. We believe our model is working. We'd like to do more. And we have an open invitation and offer to the United Nations to collaborate.
Why has there been hesitation on part of the United Nations to deliver their aid? Why has there been this stalling of so much aid that's just rotting on the Gaza side of the border?
Yeah, you mentioned that before. I've seen it. I've been there. You'd have to ask them. So when we were first allowed to operate, we pushed very hard and publicly for the government of Israel to allow the United Nations to operate as well, and they did allow it. The United Nations has been saying things that are misleading at best, I would say. They are saying that this is an access problem, that the government of Israel is not letting them deliver aid or cross the border. But I've seen their trucks rotting in the sun. And then a few weeks ago, they had stopped delivering it. They were in across the border and they refused to move them. The day that I was there, we spoke to some international NGO truck drivers, 5 of them who had been living for 5 days by the trucks. They said that the day before, they had just tried to drive the trucks further into Gaza. They were immediately shot at. They thought they were going to get kidnapped. They were afraid for their lives. The aid was immediately looted, and they had to come back. And then they asked us, because I was there with some security personnel, they asked us, could you provide security for us? And we said, absolutely. You just have to talk to your people, right? We stand ready, willing, and able to do that. So I don't know if it was politics or corruption or what the motive was, but thankfully, from some pressure by us and the rest of the international community, and Kogat let reporters in to see the trucks there. The UN finally started moving them in. But as you can see, just over the past couple of weeks, it's not a problem of access. It's a problem of execution. They're just not able,
Mm.
by their own statistics, 6.5% of their aid, 1,100 of 1,100 over 1,000 trucks get to where it's supposed to go, right? So that's our mission, is to avoid that problem, and we've been successful at that. We have a 100% record of not getting diverted. So that's the kind of expertise we would lend to them, and we would certainly learn some things from them and collaborate. We would love to do that.
Well, Chapin, I know you're a very, very busy man. Again, I thank you for your time. I have two
Sure.
follow-up questions, and I'll let you go. This question is, how should people respond? How should people react? What should people think when they're just bombarded with these images and with these stories of famine and death at GHF sites and Israel starving people? It's this tidal wave of the narrative. This is probably not probably the most documented, publicized hunger situation in human history, and people don't know what is the truth. And that's why I think this conversation is so invaluable. You're there, you're in the land, you're on the ground. How should people be processing this absolute wave of conflicting reports?
Well, so again, this is an active war zone between Hamas and Israel. And you have to interrogate the numbers coming out of places like the Gaza Health Ministry that puts out casualty reports all the time that just can't be verified. At best, they're inflated. At worst, they're false. There are deaths happening. Every casualty is regrettable, but this is a war, and the IDF is conducting operations, so there are casualties happening. Most of the time, it is farther from our sites than the Gaza Ministry of Health says. We've seen sort of the Hamas disinformation merry-go-round, where the Ministry of Health puts out some sort of statistics. A media outlet like Al Jazeera picks it up, and then the international media has picked it up. In fact, the Associated Press, Reuters have all had to issue corrections over the past couple of months about these very statistics and facts. MSNBC had to do it on air. So there is a lot of disinformation coming out. I'm not here to deny that there are casualties in this war, just that none of them have happened or occurred on our sites. The other thing that it would be important to know for your viewers is that I mentioned this is one of the most complex humanitarian crises of our lifetime. It's happening in the most densely populated place in the world. There are 2 million Gazans in Gaza. We are within about a million of them, able to serve about a million of them. We are not as far north as we would like to be. We push for the IDF and the government of Israel to help us expand in that way. You asked about the need and the hunger and the desperation. It's much more acute in the north, around Gaza City. That's where most of the casualties actually are taking place. There are a lot of things, many things in Gaza are a few kilometers from our sites, just because Gaza is so small. But again, we've delivered 123 million meals safely and securely. We hope to do more, and we're going to continue doing it every day until the full need is met.
Well, Chapin, last question. Can you tell us about this letter that 200 NGOs signed on to? I just saw it from your website. What's that all about?
Sure. So more than 200 NGOs from more than 15 countries. These are faith-based. These are humanitarian, civil society NGOs. They've all urged the United Nations to collaborate with us, which is what we've been calling for. I will say our leadership had some meetings with the United Nations back in America last week. I've been told those meetings were productive, but we'll see. But this letter goes to show that our model is working, and that over 200 well-respected humanitarian organizations are calling for collaboration. There are 3 calls to action. We're one, to stop any policies that obstruct the GHF's work, because our model is working. And second, to commit to collaboration, including funding and logistics. And the third is to investigate, do an investigation of UNRWA's practices in Gaza, because again, the legacy system just wasn't working. The reasons or the motivations for that don't really matter to us. We are supportive of more aid into the hands of the people of Gaza, and that's our mission. And we're going to continue to do it every day until the full need is met. And we would love to work with the United Nations. We already have a few NGOs that we're collaborating with. Samaritan's Purse is on our sites currently for the past couple of weeks, delivering badly needed medical aid to the people, to the aid seekers, as well as the local Palestinian workers. So it's really heartening to see, our humanitarians working alongside local aid workers, working alongside Samaritan's Purse and U.S. veterans, all just to try and feed the people of Gaza.
Chapin Fay, thank you for your time, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Raj.